Gentlemen, welcome to my video about my experience with Dream Connections. My name is Striker and I'm going to try and help you out the best that I can if you are thinking about going to Dream Connections. In this video I'm going to go through the process of Dream Connections and how it all sort of works. I'm going to tell you about my experience through Dream Connections, and then at the end I'm going to give you some final thoughts that's going to help you decide whether or not Dream Connections is going to be the right company for you if you are going to the Ukraine to find the love of your life. Let's do it. So in this first part here, I'm just going to tell you about the basically an overview of Dream Connections and how it works and the sign-up process and all that sort of stuff. Now, this is stuff that you can find on their actual website themselves, but there is a lot of videos and you do have to sort of dig quite deep in there to sort of find everything. So I'll just give it to you in like a summarized form. So why did I choose to go on Dream Connections for my very first time to the Ukraine? Well, I have explained it in other videos before, but I'll quickly explain it again. When I first ventured into this, I saw the documentary Love Me. That documentary was about AFA, A Foreign Affair, or loveme.com. It was about their romance tours. Somehow I sort of jumped off that and I ended up seeing the videos on YouTube for Dream Connections. And if you have looked into Dream Connections, you will no doubt have seen all of the videos, the testimonials, the videos of the tours, all these videos everywhere. And for me, they just looked like more of a legitimate company. I mean, they had statistics that they could throw out there. 80% success rate, 200 and something marriages, 0 divorces. For me, it was like, this is way better. This looks way better. It looks professional. It looks great. I'm going there. So after watching some of the videos, I decided to sign up. I decided to be the man of action. So I'm just going to go over a quick overview of sort of how the whole process worked from sign up to the end of the tour. That way it'll give you an idea. If you go through their YouTube channel, you can find this information. Now, there's no 11 secret herbs and spices. It's pretty basic stuff, but I just want to go over it. Then when I give you my experience when I went through the company, it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So basically, you just go to the website, you fill out the form, who you are, what you do, what you're looking for, put up some photos, pretty much like that. And then I think I paid straight away. I can't quite remember. So once you've paid and all that sort of stuff, you get an appointment scheduled with Irina so she can give you an interview to talk to you about the tour. So you have the interview. She talks about, she asks you a few questions. It's nothing crazy. It's not like, they say that they screen the guys. It's not like you're being interrogated. It's basically just like, tell us a little bit about your last relationship or whatever. Goes for like 10, 15 minutes. It's not a big deal. They do send you some emails in the coming weeks towards the tour. Like I signed up maybe a month before the actual tour. So it wasn't like I signed up 6 months earlier and I was getting prepared for it. It was really sort of 5-6 weeks or something before the actual tour itself. So they do send you some emails, but there's no... one thing I've got to point out is that I talked to somebody when I was at another tour and they said, apparently you have to do like a 6-hour course before you can go on it. You don't have to do that. I don't know where he's got that from, but there is no 6-hour course that you have to do if that is something that's out there. They do send you some videos about what to wear, what's the weather going to be like, a few other bits and pieces as well. But there's no course, so don't worry about that. I didn't do any course anyway. Another thing that you get is like access to what they call the inner circle, which is, it's basically like a tiny version of a social media platform that's, you kind of can meet the other guys and watch some videos and you're in this inner circle group, which some guys might get some value out of it, but you get that included, I believe, for maybe a few months of the actual, included in your ticket that you actually buy for the tour. So how much does it actually cost? So it costs about $5,000 to do the tour, which is obviously a little bit more than some of the other tours. But for me, I sort of put it in the category of why skimp on something which is so important, right? So for me, I wasn't going on a cheap holiday. I was going to get down to business, basically. So I paid the $5,000. Then I got a phone call from Mark himself. He called me and said, we're having a little mini tour in Kherson. Do you want to come to that? We would think it would be great. I said, yeah, why not? I'm flying like 60 hours or whatever to get to the Ukraine. I might as well do this. So I paid for this as well. So my tour come up to $5,600 US dollars. So it's US dollars. So everything was ready to go. I paid for it. Everything was sorted. So in my second interview that I had with Irina, she wanted to have one for some reason. we had that interview. There was really nothing to it. It was more just, I think, a courtesy one to see if you're okay and make sure everything's good and you're ready to go and you know exactly what you're doing. So that was pretty cool as well. So I was pretty happy that they were still staying in touch, and I didn't feel like they had abandoned me or that I was left out or anything like that. So when it comes to that sort of service prior to going, it's top notch. It's awesome. One thing that they get you to do before you go on the tour, before you leave, is to go through their website. They have the profiles of a bunch of ladies, or a lot of ladies on the website, and they say, can you send us the ID or the name or the link of the ladies on the website so we know who you like, and hopefully you can meet those ladies as well. So you can, I just basically chose 16. I think they say choose 10 to 15, but I guess I was being a bit cheeky and I chose 16. So I sent 16 off to them, and that was the end of that. So that was pretty much the whole process before you go. So what's actually included in the $5,000, or in my case $5,595, I think it was. So you get your hotel that you're staying in. Now this hotel is in Nikolaev. It's sort of in the center. It's actually a really good place where it is. Beforehand, I was staying in Odessa, and they put you up in another hotel there before the tour starts. But you have to pay for that one separately. That one's not included in the actual tour fee. So just the one in Nikolaev is. The hotel that they put you up in Nikolaev is kind of, I'm going to say it, crappy. So it's sort of like a real kind of old sort of style, like bad sort of heating, not the right temperature, hard beds, no water, sort of a hotel. So it's not a hostel or anything like that. It is a hotel. It's probably like I'd say a 2-star hotel, something like that, maybe 2.5 star if they got the water going. But I mean, that's just what comes with the tour. I don't think you can go and stay in another hotel or anything like that, but if you could, that would be pretty good if you could do that and then meet back here. I can see that they want to keep all the guys together, but I would rather stay 5 minutes out and just get a taxi in every day. I mean, hotels are so cheap over there anyway. No meals are included except for one, which is your meet the translator dinner. So if you've watched any of the videos, you'll see this. Everybody sits around and they meet their translator. It's quite a cool night, but any other meals are not included except for your breakfast, which is at a cafe next to the hotel, which is just a basic sort of a breakfast type setup. Also included is your translator. So at the translator dinner, obviously you meet her and then you hang out for the week, and she gets to know you, and she will help you with anything, not just translating on a date. She'll help you with if you need to go to the mall, or if you need to get your laundry done, or if you just anything in general, she'll help you with it. And it's they can come in quite handy. I think they now call them love coaches, I think, which sounds a bit weird, but that's what they call them. Even though your translator is included in the $5,000, you still are required to pay them at the end of it. Now I say required, but it is suggested to you to tip them between $50 and $200 or 200 euros. I can't quite remember exactly what they said. So you are required for that, and the translators do expect that. And it's probably not a bad thing, because they're going to be very, very helpful if they know that they're going to be getting that amount of money, which is a lot for them. So just bear that in mind as well. You do still have to pay them. Also included is they'll pick you up from the airport as well, and you'll also take you to Odessa. You'll stay in the hotel that every other guys are staying at there, and then you'll all get a bus to Nikolaev. So that transport is included. So you don't really have to pay for any taxis or Ubers or anything up until that point. So transfers is included as well. The only transfer that's not included is the transfer when you finish to the airport at the end. So I believe off memory that costs $100, but you can just get a taxi for like 40 or something like that. So, but just bear that in mind, that is not included as well. Also included when I went on the tour was a cell phone. So they give you a nice new cell phone that you can use to keep in contact with the ladies or just whatever. It's got everybody's names loaded in there, which is pretty cool, but it's kind of a crappy phone. So I ended up just taking the SIM card out and putting it into my own iPhone, and it worked quite well. I just copied all the numbers over. So, but they do say you can keep that phone, and they did mention it to us before we signed up, but at the end of the tour, they do take the phone back. So bear that in mind. Don't put anything on the phone that you want to keep, otherwise you'll lose it. That's what happened to one of the other guys, and he couldn't find his numbers by the end of it. So just take the SIM card out and put it into your own phone, and then just use it like that. It's probably the best way to do it. One of the major things that you get with Dream Connections, and this is all throughout their videos, their marketing, everything like that, is that the ladies are screened. So You're not going to get any scammers. You're not going to get any murderers or anything like that there. So they are all screened. So this is all part of their package. We take time to screen the ladies, basically. So, and I like that. Before I signed up, I liked the idea that they were screened. I didn't really know what they were screening them for because I didn't know anything about this industry. But I like the idea that they were screened, that they were serious, that they weren't just wasting everybody's time. So that is the reason why you are paying more. It's not any other reason that I can see why you're paying more. It's because the ladies are screened. So if that's important to you, you'll pay the extra bit of money. So who's actually on this tour? Like, what are the guys like? Are they young? Are they old? Are they crazy? Are they just normal guys? The majority of them are older. But they did say on the tour that this was the most amount of young guys that have ever come on a tour. And there was a good couple of handfuls of us young guys there. I would say maybe like 7 guys were young, around about my age, maybe a little bit younger, something along those lines. But a lot of the guys were older, sort of in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and even 70s. So, and everybody seemed pretty cool. There was some guys that were unrealistic. There was one guy, he was like 74. He already had a girlfriend he'd been writing to online, and she was 21, and she was a beautiful model and all that sort of stuff. So there was guys that were realistic. I think the young guys were realistic. Some of the older guys were not realistic going into this, but everybody going into it was pretty cool. There was no like complete nutters there or anything like that. So it was all pretty good. Okay, so day one, the tour starts. Everybody is excited. Everybody's like, yes, let's do this. Let's get into it. So we get the bus, and I think we did a walking tour around the hotel, I think, in Odessa. Yeah, I think so. But then we get the bus that night, and we are going to Nikolaev, and we're going to have the translated dinner. If you've seen the videos, meet the translated dinner. So we do that. So everybody's on the bus. Everybody's energy is so great. Everybody is like, woohoo, this is so much fun. Yeah. So we're doing all that stuff. And then we get given the books of the ladies who are going to be attending these 3 social events. Or in my case, 3 events. Most of the other guys was 2 events, but there was a handful of us doing the 3rd one. Up until this point here on the bus, you have absolutely no idea what ladies are going to be attending these socials. You have no idea whatsoever. You've seen them on the website. You've sent in your list of girls that you like the look of. But up until when they give you that folder, you have no idea. So that is kind of an exciting time. Everybody's talking on the bus. And then when the folder comes out, the bus kind of quietens as people start going through the folder to see the ladies that are in there. So you get there, you get ready, you go to your translator dinner, you meet your translator. It's all pretty cool. It's sort of... it's got good energy. I think a lot of the guys were nervous, and for some reason I was a little bit nervous. I don't really know why, because it wasn't like I was meeting like a date or anything like that. So you meet your translator. My one was called Ola, and she was nice. She was such a nice girl. After you do the dinner thing, which is pretty cool, it's a good way to sort of get some energy levels up with all the guys there. Where you go out afterwards, and you have to come up with a spiel or a speech, something like that, of who you are with your translator. So if you are thinking about going on this tour and you go on the tour, have that ready in your mind. Okay, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So we went somewhere and we sat down and we had some coffee, and I said, and I wrote out my speech. This was the speech that you are going to use later to present yourself as the ultimate man. So at the end of that, you go home. The next day, everybody is just so excited. Everybody's looking like pretty sharp. They're wearing suits and all that sort of stuff. Everybody's so excited to get to the first meet and greet event, right? So the meet and greet event. So there are 2 of these for most of the guys. I had 3 because I paid their little bit of extra money. So at these meet and greet events, it's basically speed dating. So what you do is there's 2 groups. They get split. You go to the first group on the first day, the second group on the second day. You sit at a table. And you have to do that speech that I was just talking about. And you have to say, hi, my name is, and this is what I do, and this is where I'm from. And you have to talk for about 5 to 10 minutes. So you do that speech, and at each table there is usually 3 ladies, as I recall. There's usually a 30-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, or a 20-year-old, someone in their 20s, I should say, a 30-year-old and a 50, something like that. So the 3 ladies are of different age groups so that they can appeal to the guy that's sitting right there talking to them. So you do that speech, then they do their speech very, very fast. You've only got about 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, and then you get a tap on the shoulder and you have to leave. Then the ladies will write down if they like you or not, or they'll give the phone number to your translator. And then you move to the next one. And you do this throughout the first day. So once you've done all that, by the end of the day, you will have a bunch of numbers. And it's be very, very hard not to get numbers. My concern was, what if I don't get any numbers? What if the ladies don't like me? It's going to be horrible. But don't worry about that. You'll get a bunch of numbers. Every guy did. No matter who they were, they got a bunch of numbers. So you do that. You go through all the tables. And at the end of it, you can take one of the ladies out on a date. Sounds pretty cool, right? Cool. Okay. Then you go to day 2. Exactly the same thing again, but you do it with the other group of ladies. So it's probably like 10 tables in each one. And it's probably about 3 ladies at each table. I think some of them might have 4. And so that's the end of that. So then, after then, it's dating time. It's time to get stuck in. Well, that was for most of the guys anyway, but I had one more day. I knew that I was going to Kirsten because I paid the extra $500 or whatever, and I was going to go to the new speed dating event that was the first of its kind in Kirsten. So I ended up going to that and doing the exact same thing, but less ladies, and there was only about 5 or 6 of us guys that were there. So after all of that is out of the way, you then have to start going on some dates with these ladies that you have met. And that's pretty much what the rest of the week is. You go on a bunch of dates with ladies, 3 to 4 a day if you want to, 5 a day, 6 a day, as many as you want, and try and get to know these ladies and try and connect and find the love of your life. That's your goal. That is your mission now, is to connect with one of these ladies that were at these speed dating events. Then, I believe on the Friday, is the final dinner. This is where so many guys seem to like give the ring or whatever, the commitment ring or whatever you want to call it, at this final dinner, right? So that's sort of like the goal, is to get, you know, sorted for the week, and then the final dinner, you can go and do that, right? So you have the final dinner. After the final dinner, that's pretty much the end of the tour. So I believe the tour, I'm sure they say it's 9 days, but I'm sure it was only 7 or 8. But let's just say it's 9 days that you go on the actual tour itself. So that's basically it. That's how the tour works. It's pretty much as it is in the videos. There is no secret bits and pieces or anything like that. There's no secret herbs and spices, as I call it. It is what it is. It is up to you. It is full on, and you will feel tired. I mean, I felt tired. Even at the last meet and greet event, I was zoning out, and my translator kicked me under the table because the ladies were, one of the ladies said to her, "What? Well, he looks like he's falling asleep," and she kicked me and said, "Oh, whoops, what's happening?" And then after she said, the lady said, "It looked like you were falling asleep." So it is tiring, but it is exciting when it is happening at the time anyway. But that's how that works anyway. So how did I go when I went on the tour? How was my experience? Well, it's a kind of a story of ups and downs. So when I got there, I was super excited. Time went so slow from when I first got there for the first 4 days to when we actually had to do it, because I was so excited. I felt like a kid at Christmas time. You know, I just had such a good feeling about this because, I mean, look at the statistics. It's like 80% success rate, right? I thought this would be like shooting fish in a barrel. I really did. I thought that it would be so easy. There's going to be these beautiful women there. It's just going to be amazing. So anyway, so we get on the bus and then we're off. And by this time I've met a bunch of the guys and we've all become like really good friends in a space of like a day or 2 days because we had so much in common. Everybody's stories were the same about their ex-partner or their ex-wife and how they felt in life about not being able to find like the one. So everybody bonded really well, and it was really quite cool. So we're driving to Nikolai from Odessa, and that's when they give you the books of the ladies. So we start going through the books of the ladies. The first thing that I noticed, and some of the other guys as well, was that the ladies that you chose were not in the books. So I personally wasn't too concerned about it. Probably not as much as, like say, one of the other guys. He was quite concerned about it. I was not really too concerned about it because I just sort of had my faith in the company, and I just thought that it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. So one of those ladies that I had chosen, I was really excited to meet, and she was in Kherson, and I thought this. For some reason, I just had a really good feeling about it. She looked hot. The biography thing she sounded quite nice, and there was just something. I just had this gut feeling that she was going to be really, really nice. But she was in the book, so I was so excited that she was in the book, and I wasn't too concerned the others weren't in the book. So I think of the 16 that I chose, I believe that there was only about 4 off the top of my head that I counted by quickly looking, that there was about 4 that were actually coming. So 4 out of the 16. But hey, that was fine. I mean, 80% success rate. I've got this. Just don't worry about it. It's fine. So yeah, basically we went to the translator dinner. That was cool. Like it was a good time, as I explained before. So we went out afterwards. I came up with a speech. I was absolutely shit scared about saying my speech because my personality is, even though I'm doing these videos and I'm not actually really talking to anyone, so I don't actually have to talk about my life. Well, actually I do, don't I? But I'm not talking about my life as in, this is what I do, this is my brothers, these are my sisters, this is my pet that I used to have. The thought of having to sit there in front of 3 beautiful women looking at me while I explain who I am was so nerve-wracking to me. I can't explain it. Even now when I'm talking about it, I've got anxiety about it. I would much rather just say hello to someone and say, oh, my name is this and what's your name, and have a normal conversation about just whatever. And that's how you can sort of build a bit of a quick relationship and you can get to know the other person. This, I found out, wasn't really going to sort of be like that at all. It was, you have to have a speech and you have to tell them who you are, and then you have to wait and they'll tell you, and then they'll ask you some questions, you can ask them some questions, and you can get to know each other this way. I was like, what? Okay, all right, we can do this. We can do this, right? Everybody does it. Everybody else is doing it. It's fine, okay? But for me, it was very, very nerve-wracking. And it was weird because I can normally talk to anybody. So anyway, we do the first speed dating event. And it was exactly like that. I was so nervous about it. The first table I remember sitting down and doing my speech, and the words weren't really coming out properly. Like, I couldn't remember what I was supposed to talk about. Do I say something about my job or what am I... And it just, the 10 minutes just seemed to just go on and on and on. And I remember Mark saying, it gets easier. Once you do the first few, you get into the swing of things and it would get easier. It never got easier. It never ever got easier for me. Maybe some of the other guys, it was easy for them, but for me it wasn't. So I just had to grit my teeth and get through it. But one thing I've got to add here. The speed dating, I can see the concept of it, right? There are all these ladies and there are these guys. And the idea behind the speed dating is that every guy can meet every single lady. If you look at, say, a model more such as, say, AFA or one of the bigger companies that have these big social events, well, there are ladies that want to come and talk to you, but they can't because there's too many girls in the way. And you may see a lady that you want to go and talk to, but there's some other guys from the tour that are talking to them and you can't go and talk to her. And she might be your future wife. So I can see the concept behind it. And I do like the idea of having to meet every single lady, and every single lady has to meet you, right? So when I would sit down, and this is how it went, I would sit down at the table and there'd be a lady in their 30s, 40s and 50s. So as soon as you sit down, this is your initial thought. She's too old, I don't have any attraction to this one at all. Now it's not her fault, it's not Dream Connection's fault, it's just the way that it is. So you do your spiel, and then they do their spiel, and then you think to yourself, right, okay, the next table, let's go. You do the next table. So out of the 3 ladies that are there, 50's too old, 40's too old, she's in her late 20s, possibly, but she just doesn't have the personality, doesn't want to talk, she's too shy, whatever. But she could be somebody that I could go out on a date with and maybe she'll open up, right? Then the next table as well. same one again. If you're not attracted to the one that's in your age bracket, then the table's just a complete write-off. So then the next one, the next one, the next one. So when you get to the end of all the tables, you think to yourself, because at the start, you're really, really choosy. But then by the end of it, you're thinking, well, I wasn't attracted to any of the ladies that were there. And you're probably watching this going, what? You just met 60 women and you're not attracted to any of them? Pretty much. That was pretty much how it went for that first day. That was just the first day though, bear in mind. That's what happened because you're not meeting 50 to 60 women. You are meeting them, but you're not meeting 50 to 60 women that would be an ideal candidate for you because they're too old, right? So you might be meeting maybe 4 or 3, something like that. And that's the way that it is. I mean, if you're an older guy, sure, like say if you're in your 50s, yeah, you're sport for choice. But if you're looking for a lady in sort of like her late 20s to 30, which is what I was looking for, which is about 7 years younger than myself, 7, 8 years younger, you're not sport for choice. And that's just the way that it is. But I didn't despair. I didn't give up. I knew that there was 2 other meet and greet events, so I just sort of tried to put this behind me. At the end of the first day, they say, right, my translator was there. She said, right, what date do you want to take out? And I said to her, I didn't really find any of the ladies like super attractive, and I definitely didn't feel any sparks, but you are speed dating, so you're not going to expect that anyway. So she said, well, you have to choose someone. Everybody's choosing someone. So I said, okay, what about that girl there in the blue? She says, okay. So she went and got the girl in the blue, and then we went across the road and we went out on a date. But there was nothing really there at all. And even after she left, my translator said, no, I don't think that she's the one for you. And I said, I agree. So it was still early then. So I said, okay, well, what about that girl with the tattoos who was very funny and she spoke really good English? I said, I'm not attracted to her, but let's just go out and get some champagne and just talk. And, you know, you got to give these things a chance, right? Even though I wasn't attracted to her, maybe there was something about her that I would feel some sort of connection, right? You know, I had an open mind about it. So we went out, we had some champagne. It was a cool night. We chatted, but there was nothing, there was no spark. There was nothing there. So that was day 1. So not the most successful day, but I've got 2 days left. So I woke up positive, had my cold shower at the hotel and got stuck into it. So we're into it. Day 2, fingers crossed. So we get stuck into it. And to be honest, I was even more nervous than the first time. For me, it was a combination of having to do that spiel again and also having it not work. It wasn't a good time for me, but I know how things can change just like that. And for me, it's like I had travelled overseas. If you've watched my other videos, you understand a little bit about why I had the mentality that this would be easy. So I travel overseas. I don't have to go to speed dating to meet a lady and have a really great time. It just kind of happens, right? So I was sort of thinking that it's going to happen, right? It has to. It's just human nature. It's an organic process of meeting someone and having an attraction and falling in love. It has to happen, right? We're into it. So same thing again. And the first thing I do when I walk into this room this time is I scan the room straight away. So I know where I'm going to be sitting and where the ladies are that I'm attracted to. But I don't see any. And I'm not saying I'm looking at a bunch of women that are not attractive. I'm not saying that at all. But what I'm looking for. So I'm there to find my dream wife. And it's physical as well as mentally, emotionally. It's all of these things. It's a package that I'm looking for, right? It's not I'm just looking for like a 20-year-old fitness model or anything like that. I'm looking for this. It's none of that. I want the package. But the first thing is always going to come from an attraction, unless you can spend some time together and you can realize that this person has the perfect personality. But there still has to be that attraction, right? So we do the whole thing again. I do my speech again. We go through the whole thing. It gets to about halfway through. Now I'm feeling a little bit, what's the word? Probably disheartened is probably a good word. And so I'm just standing there waiting for the next table to move to the next table. And Mark actually comes over to me and he says, how's everything going? You know, how is it all? And I told him, I said, to be honest, I haven't seen any ladies that I'm attracted to. And he says to me, maybe you're being too choosy. So it was an unusual thing for him to say, because I wouldn't have thought that he would say that, because I'd watch videos of him saying, you should be choosy. And fucking A, I should be choosy. I can be not choosy in my own country. I don't need to pay a company to come over to the Ukraine, which is like 50 hours, to not be choosy. But I took on board what he said. I figure he knows what he's talking about. Maybe I am being too choosy. I mean, maybe the girl in the blue dress, and I'm thinking this at the time, maybe the girl in the blue dress, maybe she was like the perfect girl. So the next table I sit down at, there's a girl there, and she is attractive. And I did see her on the videos prior to coming. And she spoke really good English, and we talked in English, and she lived in America, so she had that American Ukrainian accent, and it's just so cute. I love it. It's just so good. I said automatically to myself when I sat down, right, I'm going to give this girl here everything, my all chance of making this work, and just see what happens. So I did the rest of the room, nothing happened. At the end of it, I say to my translator, that girl there was the only girl that I thought was attractive, and she spoke English, and let's just go and let's just do this, okay? I don't want to be so fussy that I get to the end and then nothing happens, right? She's like, yes, okay, let's do this. So we take her out for a date afterwards. And it was kind of a nothing date again. And it was like, I was really, really trying to connect with this girl. And she was really nice and she was attractive. And I was trying to find some sort of common interest with her. Do you play sports? No. Do you like this? No. And I was hoping that she'd say something. I like horseback riding. And then I could say something like, oh, I've got a friend who did horseback riding once. And we could have a conversation about it. But it just didn't go anywhere. And that was sort of the end of that. So that was day 2 down. But I was positive. I tried to be as positive as I can. And I knew that I was one of the lucky 5 or 6 that have paid this $500 or $600 that got to go to Kherson. And I knew that there was a girl in Kherson who was coming because she was in the book. I saw her on the website. I had asked about her and she was going to be there. So it was sort of like, maybe this is a sign. Hasn't worked with these other 2 meet and greets, speed dating. Maybe it was a sign. Maybe I was supposed to meet her. So that's what I'm telling myself. So we get on the bus on the 3rd day and we go to Kherson. And I can't remember the bus ride, maybe half an hour or something like that. And we get there and it's sort of the same sort of a setup. It's actually really nice the way that they set that place up. It was quite romantic. Not so out in the open and bright. These little booths and things like that. And there was more my style. As soon as I saw the place, I was like, this is my style of place. It's got the fire. It's got the dark wood. I've got this. I have got it. So it's the same format again. You sit at the table. There's 3 ladies at each table. And you work your way all the way through it. It was kind of the same. So there was one girl that I did think that she was attractive. I thought, wow, she's nice. I wouldn't mind getting to know her more. But she was the only one. So we went through the whole thing, the whole speed dating. And at the end of it, I was sitting off to the side and I was thinking, what about the girl that was in the book, right? Did I miss her? Was it like photoshopped, or was I not paying attention maybe? So I said to my translator, what happened to that girl that I told you that I liked and you checked to make sure she was coming and she's in the book? And she says, I don't know. And so she goes off and comes back and she goes, no, she never came. I said, oh my God, really? Okay, that's fine. And I said, but there was one other girl there that I did like the look of, so maybe I can go on a date with her. But I was too slow, and one of the other guys asked her out on a date first, and I saw them walking off together, and I was like, okay, that's fine. I'm going home to go to bed. So I got back on the bus and I went back to the hotel. So, but I wasn't too worried about that. So the next day I met up with my translator and I said, okay, well, this girl that I liked, can we not just call her? and say, let's go on a date? You can take a photo of me sitting here and send it to her? She goes, of course. So she starts trying to call this girl who's in the book from Kirsten that I really liked. But the phone number doesn't exist. So can you imagine now how I'm feeling? I feel as though like, I don't know, like I've just got this really bad luck or something. Phone number doesn't exist. So then they ring back to the office. We don't know where she is. Forget about it. Right, okay. So no more meet and greets, no more speed dating. It's over, okay? That's it. You're done. There are some other ladies that you can go out on some dates with. So I did go out on one who wasn't at the meet and greet. I met with her just because it was like you got to do something. But there was nothing there with her. But she was a really nice girl. So there was that. So then the girl that I actually did find that was attractive, we said that we'll come over and see you in Kirsten. And she said, yes, that sounds amazing. Let's go. So we went over there. And she was really shy. But I kind of liked it. Like she was shy but kind of cheeky. And I thought that was pretty cool. So we ended up hanging out together. So she was like my chosen one, if you want to call it that, or something like that. She was the girl that I liked the most. But I wasn't 100% certain that she was the one. Even though she spoke English and she was attractive, our common interests were a little bit off. I could tell that she would rather sit at home and read a book, whereas I'd rather go to a nightclub or a party or something like that. And I was looking for somebody that was going to compliment me and vice versa. I didn't want to have to... And being in a relationship, I was like the extrovert, she was the introvert, it doesn't work. I don't care who you're talking to, it doesn't work. It causes conflict. So I didn't want that. So we ended up hanging out for a few days, and I really wanted it to work because I had nothing else. So I really, 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 really needed this and wanted this. So I ended up taking her to the final dinner. We had probably 3 dates or so. During that time too, of that week, I probably went out on maybe like 3 other dates, just to try, just to give it my all. So we went to the final dinner together. The next day, we actually went out to a nightclub, and I just sort of realised that she's not really down with this, and I'm kind of wasting my time and her time. So the next day, I had to tell her. I had to say, I'm sorry, I just don't think it's going to work. And it was really hard to say that. It was devastating. She didn't take it that well at all, and I really regretted actually even sort of starting that with her when I wasn't 100% certain. When I said before I was coming here was to be certain, be choosy, make sure you know what you want before you do anything. And I didn't do that. So when I told her that, she basically ran away, slammed the door to the restaurant, and it was pretty bad. I felt bad for her, and I had to ring my translator and say, can you please come and help me? I've done something and I feel so bad about what I have done to this girl. And nothing had happened, like we hadn't slept together or anything like that. I know that Dream Connections for some reason thought that I had slept with her and then got rid of her. That didn't happen at all. It just, I called it off. But it was pretty horrible to be in that position anyway, but that was that anyway. So anyway, after that, I had a meeting with my translator and I said, basically, it hasn't really happened for me. Like the tour is like finishing now, and it didn't really work. And she was awesome. Like she is such a nice girl. And she would try and give me the best advice that she can, and she is the romance coach, but at the end of the day, she is only 24 years old. She's only going to be able to help you out so much. So she was on Instagram, and she's looking for photos of her friends that are single, saying, what about her, what about her, what about her? But she couldn't find any friends that were single. One, but she wasn't single anymore. So I start using Tinder. And I'm like, Tinder, back to Tinder, good old Tinder. I'm swiping there. We're sitting at a cafe having lunch after the day after the final dinner, I think it was. She's trying to find a single friend. I'm on Tinder. Can you imagine this? Can you imagine how I felt after all of those? I'm back on trusty old Tinder. So I'm sitting there and I'm talking to my translator. I'm saying, how is it that I'm not in the 80%? That's all I could see. I had tunnel vision. It was like, how did I fail this? Like, what did I do that was wrong? Did I not plan it properly? Should maybe my speech should have been better that I did, or maybe I should have gone on more dates because maybe something would have like sparked up out of nowhere, or I don't know. I was just so confused about where I was sitting with my translator at that place, but it was a pretty sort of dark time. Everybody was kind of going home, and it was cold. It was like snowing. It was grey. It was not very. I just remember it being not a very nice time. I did talk to Mark. I only ever had like 2 conversations, maybe 3 with Mark. Not huge conversations, but I remember I was standing outside and I was pretty much ready to dig a hole and lie in it. And I did say to Mark, like, it just hasn't really worked for me. I was hoping for like a bit of advice or something like that. Like, let's get you sorted. We can do this. But there was really nothing that he could sort of offer me to kind of help me. And then there was a small turn of events. So myself and my translator started hanging out with one of the other translators who happened to be her best friend. And she seemed pretty cool. She was attractive. She seemed kind of fun. And I said to my translator, I said, well, what about her? Like, you know? And she said, yeah, of course. So the 3 of us ended up hanging out together. And it was fun. She actually ended up coming and staying with me because I left this hotel and I went and got an apartment. So something happened one time while we were watching a movie. Me, my translator, and this girl. And something happened, and I didn't feel safe for her to be at this apartment. So I'm trying to tell the story without saying too much. So I said to her, look, why don't you come and stay at the apartment that I'm staying at? Which she did. She came and stayed. So we hung out, and we stayed together for about 5 days, and we ended up becoming pretty good friends. Like, we would work together. She would work on her computer, I'd work on mine, and then we'd go out for dinner in the evening. But I wasn't 100% sure about her. But I really wanted something to work, right? I really wanted this. Like you got no idea how much I wanted this to work. But I could tell that personalities were completely different. And I was going down that path again that I'd been on with the other girl, where I'm just trying to make it work because it's something that I really want to happen, right? So in the end, I ended up extending my stay, trying to get to know her. I ended up coming back to New Zealand, but I wasn't so sure about her at all. But we did stay friends, but then eventually we lost contact after a few weeks of actually getting back. So that was kind of that. So we did have a good time, and I think we both really did sort of try, and we both really wanted something to happen, but it just wasn't there. The spark or whatever it was wasn't there. But that was life, and that was it. When I got back, we talked on Skype a few times, and I really wanted to stay friends with her because I thought that she would be a really good friend. But unfortunately, she didn't like that and ended up blocking me. So it wasn't a very good time for me. I thought that when I get back from this trip, before I left, when I get back, it's going to be an amazing time. Everything is going to be so great. Life's going to be so good. And it was such a stark contrast to be where I was in that position. And I'm going to say that I was a little bit depressed. Now, I don't think I've ever been depressed before, but that point there was such a low time for me. And the hardest thing when you come back from one of these tours is that you can't talk to anyone about it. Because if I went to the only person that I told, which was one of my good friends, and said, it didn't work, you know what he's going to say to me? He's going to say, I told you not to go. So you can't talk with anybody about this except for maybe some of the other guys on the tour. And that sort of becomes like your support network afterwards, is talking and texting and viring the other guys that were on the tour that were in the similar position to what you are. But you have no support when you get back. And for me, it was kind of hard because I just spent like 8 years of my life in this shit relationship that was soul destroying. And now here I am, and possibly the one and only time in my life where I could probably say that I've got some sort of depression maybe. I don't actually know. But it definitely wasn't a good time for me. The worst thing was is that I guess I kind of blamed myself. And I kept looking at myself, and that's how I always do it. No matter what it is in life when it's a failure, I always look at myself and I say, damn it, it's my fault. I should have seen that this was going to happen, or I should have done this differently. And I did the exact same thing for about 3 or 4 weeks. I didn't go out and see my friends. I didn't even want to go to Christmas with my parents. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted to just sit there and not talk to anybody and not discuss anything. I couldn't understand why I wasn't part of 80%. It was just so weird. It was just this feeling of failure. When I thought back to why I made my decision to actually go on Dream Connections, it was because there are these guys that are talking about how amazing it is here, right now. You need to come here right now. It's amazing. And it is amazing when you're there. In the first 2-3 days, you've met these cool guys, and there is a bond that grows because you know why you're all there. You know that you've all come from the same place and you're all looking for the same, well, the realistic guys, you're all looking for the same thing. You instantly feel a connection with these guys. So you watch these videos of these guys saying, it's amazing, you got to come here, the women are beautiful, da 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 da. And I thought to myself, there's no way that those guys are lying. They're not paid actors. They're telling the truth, right? I'm on those videos. I am those guys on day 2 and day 3 saying, this is amazing, you got to come here, the women are beautiful, it's amazing. This was one of the reasons why I went on the tour. It is, you do get caught up in it. It is amazing, it is a great trip. And you do think that women are attractive, but you take these little bits of information and you listen to what you want to listen to. And things like 80% success rate, that coupled with this, it gives you this sense of already achieved success. And then when you fail, like you crash big time and nobody cares about it. You are the one that has to deal with it yourself. Luckily, there are other guys on the tour as well that you can talk to and you can vent to. The way that I got out of this place was to try and create these videos and try and make it so that if there are other guys in that place, maybe it can help them. Or maybe I can offer some advice and try and figure out if there is a way to do this. Because at the time when it happens, you feel like, you've just spent like $10,000, $12,000 to do this and it didn't work. So are you going to do it again? Depends how much you believe in it. Depends how much you want it. For me, I really wanted to do it again, but I didn't want to fail. And if I did fail, I wanted something to come of it, such as helping other guys how to do this. So when it comes to the success rate, I think it is important to touch on it a little bit because for me it was a major part of me making my decision from going on another tour such as AFA. So I'll talk about that in just 1 second, but I know I've given a lot of information here and some of it's good, some of it's not so good, but I thought I'd just break it down into a good old pros and cons list. That way it's you've got a little bit of information if you are making your decision. So pros, there are a lot of things about Dream Connections that I do like. The first one is definitely going to have to be the translators. So everybody that got a translator raved about their translator. So I never heard anybody ever say anything bad about their translator. So, I think it is good. They do help you with a lot of stuff. And especially if you are new to traveling, or, some of the guys, it's the first time they'd ever traveled out of the United States. So they are handy. They'll make sure you don't get ripped off. So that's definitely a pro in my books. A big one. Dream Connections is well organized. I would say that it's more well organized than AFA. In the sense that you knew exactly where you were going and what was happening all of the time. So with the speed dating or the meet and greets, you always knew what was happening and you didn't really have to think too much. And that for me was quite good because I didn't want to have to be organising my own taxis and things like that to go places. So I think that is a definite must, especially again if you haven't done much travelling or anything like that. They are well organised and prior to the tour and then during that tour, it is pretty good, so you don't have to think about it. So definitely a pro. Now another pro, and this pro here, they talk about this, the reason why the tour cost $5,000 as opposed to $2,000 or $3,000 is because they screen the ladies. And I do agree that you are less likely to get scammed or ripped off or anything like that by the ladies that are at Dream Connections. The main reason is I believe, is because there is a translator with you the whole time. So she's going to pick up on anything that's going to be a little bit sketchy. And that's probably one of her jobs, why she is with you all the time, is to make sure that none of the ladies do anything that's a little bit dodgy. So they say they screen the ladies, but I always say, how do you screen someone? If someone wants to rip you off or take some money or something like that, they're going to do it. So you can only screen them so much. My guess is that they screen them, make sure they're not married, which is easy. You can just look at the passport. Or you can do a criminal check, which is easy as well. I have a friend actually who can do a criminal check within 10 minutes and pay like $20 to do it. So I would imagine that those two checks there are the main ones that they screen for. But there are going to be some that slip through. And I do know some that slip through, and some of the guys on the tour did have some bad experiences involving restaurants. So, but I don't want to talk about that because I wasn't there. But I think that it is good that they screen them, and I think that you are less likely going to get into trouble with them. So that's definitely a pro as well. So in the cons list, things that I didn't really like but could be probably quite easily rectified is this one here, which is I'm gonna say price. Now, for me, the price wasn't too much of a big deal because before I left, I don't mind paying more for something that's a better service, right? That's why. I mean, I just said before that they screen the ladies. That's why that you pay more. I get that. I'm happy to pay more. But I do think that if you are paying the $5,000, the hotel should be better. Now, it is only the hotel, and it is the lowest on my cons list, but the hotel should be better. I mean, it was to go somewhere and pay a large amount of money and then to stay in a hotel that has no running water in the evenings and cold water in the mornings, and they wouldn't make up the room. And just these things about that just were not very good. I mean, I think that the hotel could be upgraded for that. I mean, if you went to book this hotel on booking.com, it's only about $16 or $17 or $18. I think I saw it $19 at one stage. I don't think it would be hard to say, do you want to upgrade your hotel and pay $45 and get a nice hotel? Because when you wake up in the morning, you want to feel like a king. You want to feel like, this is awesome, I'm having a great time here. And when things become a little low and things aren't working out for you, there's nothing worse than waking up on a shitty bed and not being able to have a shower. So that would be my little gripe about the hotel, but some people don't care about it. It's entirely up to you how important hotels are to you. Number two, I believe that compared to say AFA, the amount of ladies that they have in their database, I believe is quite limited. And I sort of experienced that by the end of my speed dating rounds. I wanted to try and find some more ladies that weren't at these events. And there wasn't really many at all, maybe like half a dozen. So it wasn't like there was a vast pool of books that you could just look through. I think that it's quite limited in the amount of ladies that you can actually go and see. Now, in saying that, I do think that some of the ladies that are in the speed dating events shouldn't be there. There was one lady, I'll give you a quick example. There was one lady there, and I found her very rude and abrasive, the way that she was talking. And she was over talking the ladies, and she just basically she was a dick. And I said to my translator afterwards, what's her problem? And she says, oh, don't worry about her. All the guys from the other tour complained about her too. And even the translators complained about her. And I said, well, why is she there? She's just like wasting a seat. There could be, my future wife could be sitting there. So it leads me to believe that, that they just asked her to come to possibly because the seat was free or something like that. So I think that when it comes to the amount of ladies that they have, yes, there's less scammers, and that's good. But it's not a huge, vast amount of ladies that are there, because when you run out, you've run out, right? Another thing which it did play a big part in the way that things panned out, and that is before you go, they ask you to choose a bunch of ladies off the website, right? This gives you a sense of security. And maybe nobody has ever said that to them before, but it gives you a sense of security that you're going to be meeting these ladies. Even though it says in the fine print down the bottom, there's no guarantee that you're going to meet these ladies. You're basically just sending us these ladies so we know the type of ladies that you like, so we can invite them from our vast amount of ladies, right? So you feel comfortable about doing that, and you feel happy, and you think, well, if I can meet these ones, I'll be sorted. But then you don't meet them. Like one of the guys met, none of them were there at any of the events. He never met any of them, I don't believe. So I don't think that it's a good idea to be able to choose ladies that don't exist. Now, I'm not saying they don't exist completely, but they didn't exist for this company. Now, actually, the other day I went back through and just to have a look if those ladies were still there. And of the 16, only 2 of them are still on the website. So maybe 14 got married in the last like 4 or 5 months, possibly. I don't know. The lady that I did like from Kirsten, she is still on the website, but I've never met her, and I don't know if anybody else has ever met her. So I don't know if she's real or not, but I think it would be better to somehow get a list of ladies that is more likely going to be there rather than just ones to show us what you like, because I can take photos off the internet and say this is the kind of lady that I like. So, and even though you do say the kind of lady that you like, it doesn't make any effect on the ladies that are going to be there, because the ladies that I described that I liked, there was no other alternatives really for that description. So I don't like the fact that it gives you that sense of security that you're going to be meeting these ladies. So I don't think it's made to be deceptive. I don't think so. But nevertheless, it does sort of lead down that path and of you feeling that way. So even though they do screen these ladies can appear on other websites as well. And when I continued my journey through into AFA, I actually saw ladies that were at Dream Connections on the AFA website, and we know that the AFA website does letter writing and they're part of other small agencies, and even Mark himself has videos that talks about these agencies that are bad. So it sort of led me to believe, how well are these ladies screened? Even the girl that I wanted to go meet in Kirsten, the night when I got back after the speed dating with my translator said we can't get hold of her, nobody knows where or who or what or when she is, she's disappeared. I went back to my room and I used my laptop to do a reverse image search on her, and sure enough, she was on the AFA website. So it makes me wonder how well you can screen the girls, because if they're on these other websites, chances are they're on there for letter writing perhaps, or they don't know that their images are on these websites, and that's very plausible. But I found them in like 20 seconds, so if they were screening the ladies, surely they'll do a reverse image search. I mean, it's the easiest thing that you can do, and then tell the ladies, hey, you know your photos are on these other websites, and then they can get them taken down. So I do question that whole screening process of how well you can screen someone. I know the intention is there to get only good girls, but that screening process is to justify the high price tag. So something to think about. Number 4, con. It sort of goes in line with the amount of ladies that are there. It's for a younger guy, it's quite hard because most of the ladies are older, right? So definitely a con for a younger guy going there, because there's not that many ladies to choose from. Sure, they can say you're going to meet 100 ladies, but really only you're going to meet about 10. So it's one thing to think about. It would be good if there was maybe age brackets or something like that, and you could go, well, these are the ladies in your age bracket, and there's 100 of them in there. But that's why I believe that there's not a huge, vast pool of women to choose from. So that's kind of a con, but that's just kind of the way it is, I suppose. Number 5, this is something that isn't done, but if they did do this would be amazing, and it would be a huge, huge factor in the guy's success, I believe, is if the guy is struggling, such as what I was struggling, there should be a code red. There should be like another level, and some alarms go off and the red lights flash because one of the clients is struggling. What do we need to do to get him to be successful? So maybe they could take you and put you on the couch and give you a cup of coffee and sit you down with the manager and definitely Mark, because he's the men's coach and the relationship advisor or whatever, and you translate and sit you down and go, right, what's happening? What's happened? Why are you not being successful? Is there something that you've done wrong? Maybe there is something you've done wrong. Maybe the ladies have done something. Maybe the translator is doing something wrong. And try and figure out a way to try and make you successful, because there really isn't anything like that. And on 2 occasions I went to them, and my translator knew the whole time I was struggling, and not one time did anybody ever say, right, what's happening, you know? And I've paid $10,000 to actually get there. I should be a priority, right? My success should be a priority. I should be in that 80%. They should be doing whatever they can do to help me. But there's nothing like that. If you are struggling, there's really nothing. I don't know if they just, well, I'm not going to say they don't care, because that's probably not fair for them, but there's really no support. So you are on your own, but it would be amazing if there was something that where you get kicked up into the next level so you can be successful. But that's just my thought anyway. Number 6. Now, this one is huge for me, but it is only limited to me because I can't speak on, even though I've spoken to other guys, I'm not speaking for other guys. It is the speed dating method. For me, it doesn't work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because when you sit at this table, as I explained before, you're sitting at a table with maybe 3 women that you have absolutely no interest in whatsoever. But you still have to be courteous, you still have to be nice, you still have to be kind. So you do all that. So number 1, you're kind of wasting your time somewhat. For me, I'm just talking about me here, if you're a 55-year-old guy, you're probably really, really happy and ecstatic that you're talking to these women. The other thing is that you can't get a feel for what the lady is like. And because you're not attracted to any of the ladies, you have no real motivation to go, right, let's go out. I find you amazingly attractive, let's go out. So the only thing really that you're going at speed dating is looks. That's it. At 100%, because she's sitting there on her best behavior. You're sitting there on your best behavior. Nobody's laughing. Nobody's having a joyous time, I should say. There's no laughing. There's no emotion. And that's the big thing, is that having travelled a lot in my life, and whenever I think about these times when I've met a girl at a bar or in a mall or on the street or at the beach or anything like that, there's always that emotion straight away where you'll start laughing about something that's happening around you. And that's what you build off. You build off that emotion. Speed dating doesn't allow that to happen. Now, I'm not saying that that's bad for everyone. I'm just talking about me. So for me, you can't get that. Maybe if all the women were like, I was super attracted to them, that wouldn't matter. Because I'd go, you're incredibly sexy and hot and you look amazing. Let's just go out. It doesn't matter what you do. Let's just go out. But if they're not, it's like, okay, I don't really find you attractive, but let's go out anyway, and personality wasn't there as a waste of time. So for me, the speed dating model doesn't work. I need to have some fun, some enjoyment, some emotion, something to get that spark going. If you've watched my journey that I did through another romance company, you'll see I talk a little bit about that and how that actually happened like that and how I ended up falling in love. For me, my personality, who I am, guys like me, it's not going to work that well. But I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So that's basically pros and cons. Hopefully that makes it a little bit more clear. That's just from my point of view. So obviously guys that have been on the tour who were successful are going to go, no. I would have paid 20 times more money because I found my wife. And I agree. I'm the same too. When I was actually successful, I would have paid 20 times the amount of money I paid because you're successful, right? So pros and cons really only apply to me in this case, because it's actually the second time I've made this video, because the first one I talked about some of the things that happened with other guys and things that I observed and things that I wasn't directly involved with. So in order to be fair in this review of Dream Connections, I'm only talking about how I feel myself. So everything I say is based on my feelings and what happened to me. So, success rate. Now the success rate, as I mentioned before, was such a huge thing for me because it's what made me come to Dream Connections and not go to a foreign affair. It was the 80%, right? So let's just try and define what the success rate is. For me, a success rate when you go to a marriage company is marriage. Makes sense, right? That's a 100% success. You've paid your money, you were successful. Even starting a relationship and it gets long-term, well, not even long-term, say 6 months, 3 months into a proper relationship where you've seen each other and hung out and maybe talked about a visa process, or maybe you have talked about coming back over and seeing her and things like that, then that is some level of success. But I don't think that at the end of a tour, 1 week later, I don't think Dream Connectors can say, that last tour we had last week, we had an 80% success rate. Because it's how can you know? What I believe Dream Connection converts into a success is 2 people that have gone off and they've stayed in contact. Maybe they got each other's numbers and they're texting and talking, and that may or may not eventuate into something. Because if that's the case, pretty much every guy on there is successful. Everybody has phone numbers and goes off. It means that I was successful. but I certainly don't think that I was successful in trying to achieve what my goal was. So I think be very wary of the 80% success. It doesn't mean it's a meaningful relationship. It just means that you've gone off and you're talking on Viber or texting or something like that. So yeah, just be very wary of that. When it comes to the success of actual marriages, because that's a success. No denying it, 100%. If someone's married, that's a success. If they get divorced, it's still a success because they can't control what happens after the marriage. Maybe the guy turns into a complete dick. Maybe she cheats on him. It's not the fault of Dream Connections. They do say it's 0 divorces, but hey, if it was 5 divorces, who gives a shit, right? That's life. I can't find anything that says the percentage of guys that go on it that are married. All I can find is, as of last week, it was 300 marriages. So you have to take this with a grain of salt, right? Because you're never going to know if that's true or not. And it seems to be rising at an exponential rate. And I do recall a little while ago that I saw something that said they had, I think it was 114. And if you do some quick maths, very, very quick without knowing all the facts, it means that in the last probably year and a half, less than a year and a half, they've had 3 marriages a week based on that statement that they made at that point in time. Is there 3 marriages a week? We'll never know, but it seems like a hell of a lot, especially considering what the success rate was on my tour. So, what was it on my tour? It was not 80%. I mean, if you class the success rate, the guys had phone numbers when they left and they were talking to someone, it's probably 100%, I'd say, but that doesn't really count. So I know that 2 guys are engaged, maybe 3. So 3. So I would class that as a success. It's a success. I would say it's a success. Even if they're not married, that's a success. Chalk it up on the board, that's 3. I know of, I believe, 2 other guys who are in relationships. Well, one guy was on and off, but I think it's on at the moment. So I would class that as some sort of success as well because it's been a significant amount of time since the tour. It's been 6 months, 7 months. So that would be success as well. So that's it. That's the success. So how on earth it can get to 300 so fast makes me, that's why I think that might be a little bit skewed. And we all know that 95% of statistics are grossly exaggerated. See what I did there? Yeah, so I don't know, what's that, like 20%, maybe something like that, success rate? So definitely not 80%. So after saying that, the next thing that I want to point out is success rates, marriages, divorces, any of that stuff. I'll tell you what it means. It means nothing. The reason that it means nothing because we're not products. We don't have barcodes. There's no formula that you can add some numbers together and that's love. There's nothing like that. It's going to come down to, are you attracted to someone? Are they attracted to you? Can you build off that and make a relationship? The success rate could be 99.9% and you still fail because the lady that you're looking for, your dream wife, just didn't happen to be at one of the meet and greets or at this company or any company. So forget about the success rates. I made the mistake of putting all my eggs in that basket and it didn't go well for me. So the reason that I'm saying it now is because if you're going to decide to go on one of these tours or any tour, you have to understand that. You have to understand that you are gambling. If you don't know the ladies that are going, and that's why I said my con of you don't know who's actually going to be there. If you don't know the ladies that are going, and they say these ladies are not going, or the ladies you've chosen most likely won't be there, then it's up to you to make the decision. And if you fail, well, you fail because you're unlucky. The guys that succeeded, they were lucky. That's it. They were lucky. They managed to find their soulmate or the person that they're going to spend the rest of their life with, whatever you want to call it. They were lucky. That's all it comes down to. And that's the thing you have to remember when you do any of these things. You're spinning the wheel. It's a pay to play. Pay your money, see if you get lucky, basically. So that's an important thing to remember. So hopefully that information helps. I know it's been a long video, but I try to get as much information as I can without talking about too much other stuff that isn't really going to be relevant, and I'm trying to keep it as fair as possible based on what I actually observed and what I experienced myself. So would I recommend Dream Connections to someone? The answer is I would recommend it but I would explain everything that I've explained to you in this video. So I do know that it works because I've seen it. I know guys that it has worked for. And all the testimonials and all the stuff that you see is obviously real. No, they're not actors, it's real. So it does work. I do think it's a well-organized company. I think that the guys that are going to be most successful on this company is going to be older guys. So if somebody was asking me what tour they should go on, my first question would be, how old are you? What's your personality like? So if your personality is, if you're a younger guy and you like to be nice and quiet and you know, you don't like things to be too loud, or you're not too adventurous, you're not too active or anything like that, definitely this is going to be a good option for you with the speed dating and the format. If you're an older guy, I think it's going to be good for you too. So if you're like 50 years old, there are going to be a lot of ladies, 55 years old, there's going to be a lot of ladies there that are going to be appealing to you because of the age. So definitely would recommend it, as long as you know what you're getting yourself into and you're prepared for it. So you don't want to go there thinking it's all 80% and everybody's happy and all these things. Okay, you're in charge of what happens on any tour that you go on, as long as you're educated before you go. So I would recommend it as long as you know what you're doing. So that's it. That's my review, my experience and my thoughts going through Dream Connections romance tour. Hopefully it helps some guys. If you have been on the tour and you were successful and you're happily married and you've got a whole bunch of kids and you've started your life together, tell us, put it in the comments. Or if you went on the tour, like what the percentage of guys were successful or that were engaged, or how was your experience. Put it in the comments and let us know your thoughts, and give some other guys some advice as well, because as I say, this is just my experience through it and everybody is different. So as you know, the whole idea behind the channel was to bring it out into the light of what can be achieved, and it is possible. We know that it's possible. Anyone watching this knows that it is possible. You just got to get to the point where it actually happens for you. So if you have any advice, please give it to the guys. If you want to subscribe, and please like the video. And if you are going on Dream Connections, good luck.